Hold on. Something has happened.
Massive explosion somewhere in the Middle East.
This is 1000% the hardest video that I've made so far. It's because this game right here, Tom Clancy's EndWar, means so much to me that it feels impossible for me to put it all into words. I played this game so much that I'm pretty sure I bought it 4 different times. Now, unfortunately, my disc copy for the Xbox is probably trapped in one of those zip-up CD cases under the seat of the '92 Honda Accord that I wrecked a decade ago. EndWar came out when I was in 9th grade. I played it so much that I became the top-ranked European faction player for the Xbox 360. I would sit in class thinking about strategies, and I couldn't wait to get home to play it. I can clearly remember one day in trigonometry where I sat in the back of the classroom with one headphone in, listening to Bullet for My Valentine and crafting strategies for how to defend Paris against the United States. Lately, I've been feeling pretty nostalgic for EndWar, so I decided to go to YouTube and see if there was any good videos or retrospectives about the game, and I could find some videos, but unfortunately, most of the videos out there are either full campaign playthroughs without any commentary or reviews of the story and the gameplay mechanics for the PC version of the game, and those reviewers are comparing it to other PC RTS games, and they're pretty negative about the game. What I found is that no one's talking about the persistent online multiplayer mode that was called Theater of War. None of the videos talk about what the community was like playing in the online mode. They don't talk about what was considered bad manners or cheap. They don't even talk about the imbalance of power between the factions. And you can't blame them. They can't talk about what they didn't experience. And when you look at the comments on their videos, you see people are filled with nostalgia for the parts of the game that the reviewers didn't experience. The comment section goes completely against what the video is saying. So that's where I come in, to lend a voice to all those that loved this game and to set the record straight, to make sure the history books have the full story chronicled. So gather around, kiddos, and listen well, for this is the real tale of Tom Clancy's EndWar. Developed by Ubisoft Shanghai, EndWar is a real-time strategy / real-time tactics game originally released for the Xbox 360 and PS3. The game would also release for PC a few months later. The PC version is absolutely terrible. Not from a technical standpoint like you'd come to expect these days, but just terrible decisions were made when they were adapting the game for PC. We'll come back to that later. Tom Clancy's EndWar released in November of 2008. That's the same year we got Gears of War 2, Fallout 3, GTA 4, Left 4 Dead 2, Wrath of the Lich King, BioShock, Dead Space, Metal Gear Solid 4, Mass Effect, Fable 2. So many good games. The setting of the game is pretty typical for late 2000s war games. In the far-off future of 2016, a terrible calamity has struck the world. No, not that one. A nuclear blast kills 2 million people and decimates Saudi Arabia. The world quickly spirals into an energy crisis as oil prices skyrocket. Jump forward a whole year, and somehow the United States and Europe have launched an anti-missile laser system to prevent further nuclear conflict. How in the hell they did this in less than a year in the middle of an energy crisis is beyond me, but I guess that's what happens when you drag the corpse of Tom Clancy through a room of ghostwriters. As the new leading producer of oil, Russia experiences a massive economic boom and proceeds to spend it all on expanding its military and taking over the Eastern European states that were too poor to join the new European Federation.
I know math is hard when you're an idiot, but like if you're a broke boy, just say so.
Jump ahead to 2020. Wow, this game really picked some bad years. The US is planning to build their own space station, complete with blackjack and hookers. The space station is set to hold 3 companies of Marines that are ready to ODST drop anywhere on the planet within 90 minutes. But before the US can launch the final module from the JFK Space Center, a terrorist group attacks. Turns out, the Russians were really feeling themselves and decided they would pit the US and the European Federation against each other. So they secretly funded a terrorist group and then planted evidence on a European Federation leader so the US would take the bait. Now, while the US and the European Federation are in shouting matches trying to avoid World War III, Russia uploads a virus into the European Federation's anti-missile laser defense system. When the US is finally able to relaunch their space shuttle, the European Federation laser detects the launch as a missile and blasts it out of the sky. The world spirals into chaos, and the 3 superpowers enter into a war to end all wars. So yeah, the story is a little meh. The story campaign gives you that setup, then has you pick your faction and your battalion. Then off you go into a turn-based overworld. Each turn, you have a limited number of battles to choose from. There are 4 battle types. Conquest, where your goal is to control the majority of the capture points known as uplinks. Assault, the most straightforward battle type. Wipe out all your opponent's units. The third, a raid. The attacking side sets out to destroy key target structures on the battlefield. And the fourth and final, siege. These battles are the final push for capturing a capital city and require the attacking force to capture a critical uplink or defeat all of the opponent's units. Win the battle, and you capture the territory and push your front lines forward. Your objective is to control all 3 capitals, Washington, D.C., Paris, and Moscow, or capture 28 of the 39 territories. There's really not much else to say about the story mode. It's pretty unfortunate since it's just about the only mode that's still available to play after Ubisoft shut down the servers back in 2013. There are 2 other modes, Skirmish and Theater of War. The Skirmish mode is pretty typical for an RTS, where you pick a one-off battle against either an AI or a human opponent on a map of your choice. Then there's the Theater of War mode. This was the main draw for EndWar. It was a persistent online campaign where each player would lock in their faction, and each faction fought against each other. It played exactly the same as the story campaign, except each day the server would present each faction with their battles for the day. If that sounds familiar, it's because Ubisoft would later repurpose this game model for use in For Honor. A core feature for the campaign and the Theater of War mode is the upgrade system. Between missions, you can visit the barracks and view your battalion and purchase upgrades for your units. It's a linear system, no branching paths, but units can only gain the upgrades if they meet the rank requirements. Now, as your units fight, they gain experience and they rank up. As units rank up, they gain access to upgrades, such as more health, armor, damage, or special abilities. There are 6 ranks. Units gain access to their special attack at rank 3, Hardened. Special attacks can quickly eliminate a quarter of the health of the enemy unit. EndWar gives you a battalion consisting of 7 unit types: Riflemen, Engineers, APC transports, tanks, artillery, gunship helicopters, and a command vehicle. Units deploy in sets of 4. Every unit starts with a shield that protects their health bar. When a unit loses 3/4 of their health, they are considered downed and attempt to evacuate. If they are able to evacuate, they will retain their experience and rank for future battles. If the enemy chooses to kill the remaining health of the unit before it can evacuate, the unit is lost and its rank is reset in your battalion. At a surface level, the combat revolves around a rock, paper, scissors model. Gunships beat tanks, tanks beat transports, and transports beat gunships. Transports are used to transport infantry units around the battlefield. They are fast-moving vehicles armed with anti-air weapons, perfect for destroying gunships, but should turn hightail and run at the first sign of enemy tanks. Tanks are primarily used for destroying enemy transports and are a great unit for attacking riflemen in cover. Higher level tanks get access to additional weapons. Russian tanks get anti-air guns and flamethrowers. European tank special ability Vercator immediately eliminates the enemy's shields. American tanks get a special attack with a long range that is beyond broken. Gunships are attack helicopters, capable of defeating enemy tanks and artillery units. Because the camera is locked to your units, they also serve as your only means of getting an airborne camera. Riflemen are anti-infantry infantry. Able to be deployed anywhere on the battlefield, riflemen units are primarily used to capture uplinks. Engineers are the other infantry unit. Armed with rocket launchers and heavy equipment, they are slow-moving and incredibly dangerous to enemy vehicles. Engineers can deploy and defuse minefields, and at high levels can immediately restore the shields of a friendly unit. Artillery units lob shells at ground units. Only 2 artillery squads can be deployed at a time. Although highly vulnerable to enemy attacks, artillery units are the most important unit on the battlefield. Their special attack can be directed by high-level riflemen to hit any location on the map. And most importantly, you can also tell them to force attack uplinks to destroy them and remove access to mission supports. And finally, there's a command vehicle. The command vehicle is a support unit with access to many useful utility abilities and has some defensive weapons. This unit gives access to the sitrep, a map view of the battlefield. In the sitrep, you can see friendly and enemy units and can see the attack ranges of your units. The sitrep is incredibly useful for positioning your artillery units to be in range of targets. The command vehicle also gets access to a stealth UAV, which is capable of attacking ground units and uplinks when it reaches higher ranks. After choosing your faction, you have to select your battalion. You can deploy any number of each type of unit during a battle, but your battalion choice dictates how many of each unit are yours to rank up. To make the factions feel unique, EndWar adds 2 extra layers to the balancing. First, each faction gains access to special abilities for 2 of its unit types at rank 2, rather than the default rank 3. The Americans, they have great infantry, so their riflemen get sniper rifles, and their engineers can fire a burst of heavy machine gun fire at level 2. Europeans prioritize speed, so their transports get electromagnetic pulse cannons, and their gunships get an area of effect rocket barrage. Meanwhile, the Russian tanks get a flamethrower, and their artillery can fire a chemical barrage. The second layer of balancing is far more impactful. Each faction's units are balanced around 4 base stats: speed, health, damage, and attack range. The Russians are chunky boys. They are the slowest of the 3 factions, but they do high damage, have lots of armor, and have a medium range. The European faction, they excel at guerrilla warfare and prioritize speed over all else. They have the least amount of health, they do the least damage, and they have the shortest range. Now that just leaves the Americans, who have a balanced military that gets medium damage, medium health, medium speed, and the longest range. How is this balanced? Was the balanced team distracted that day? I mean, seriously, what was going through their heads when they thought this would result in a balanced experience? In most RTS games, there's a focus on base building and resource gathering, and EndWar resource generation is simplified. There is only one resource: command points. Command points regenerate at a fixed rate, and securing an uplink rewards you with 4 command points. Units cost 4 points to deploy to the battlefield. When victory conditions are nearly met, DEFCON 1 is initiated, and the cost to deploy units decreases from 4 points to 2. There are also mission supports available to call in at the cost of command points. To access the supports, infantry units must first secure an uplink and then upgrade it to the desired support. There are 3 main supports: airstrikes, electronic warfare, and force recon. Electronic warfare is always available, but to get access to airstrikes and force recon, you must be battling near a captured airbase or army base on the world map. A level 1 airstrike costs 4 command points and will half the health of an enemy, though higher ranked units with more armor and more HP will sustain less damage. Upgrading to a level 2 or level 3 airstrike increases the cost by 1 command point each and changes the payload to use more powerful explosives. Electronic warfare calls in an electromagnetic pulse to immediately remove a unit's shields and render it immobile. A level 1 electronic warfare costs 3 command points, and upgrades improve the duration and the area of effect. And lastly, we have Force Recon. Force Recon deploys regular army transports and tanks that drive through to your target location. A level 1 Force Recon costs 3 command points, but only sends a wimpy fast attack vehicle transport and infantry squad. A level 2 Force Recon adds 2 tank squads for 1 more command point. A level 3 sends 2 fast attack vehicles and 2 tank squads. The most efficient play is to spend 8 command points to send in 2 level 2 Force Recons. That much armor bearing down on your opponent can swiftly turn the tide of battle. When DEFCON 1 is initiated, the losing side gets access to 2 additional supports. Crash Uplink is used to remove any uplink from the map, and the second is the WMD. The WMD immediately downs any unit, destroys all the structures that it hits, and destroys uplinks, disabling their mission support capabilities. Using the WMD gives your opponent access to their WMD. There's a whole strategy around how long you should hold your WMD and when to use it. The Americans, they can launch a tungsten rod from orbit that generates enough force to cause earthquake-level destruction. The Europeans fire a giant laser, and the Russians, they're old school. They fire a fuel-air missile. EndWar was originally designed as a console RTS. Playing an RTS on a console with a controller introduces many limitations for the developers to design around when compared to their PC counterparts. When playing an RTS on a PC, the mouse cursor serves several very important functions. It provides an easy method for selecting your units, and most games in the genre allow you to click and drag a box on the screen to select all units inside the box. The mouse cursor also provides an ability to click on the map and quickly jump the camera to that location. Being able to quickly scout the battlefield is a key aspect of strategy games. Because of the lack of a mouse cursor for control, EndWar makes major changes to the RTS formula. The most marketed feature was the introduction of voice commands. It was pretty awesome to slap on your $20 headset held together with scotch tape and shout, "Unit 3, attack hostile 1," and hear them repeat back, "Order received." And the most surprising thing about it,
all of this just works.
And most controversially, EndWar chooses to forego the overhead camera and instead locks the camera to the view of your units. Other reviewers hate this, but I think it makes the combat feel very cinematic. For the PC version, they were 100% smoking some good when they made some design decisions. For one, the sitrep doesn't show your deployed units or your available command points, rendering the command vehicle almost entirely useless compared to the console version. I can already see you guys typing in the comments below, "There's no way this guy was a top player back use your eyes, the command points are right there. What a lying piece of shit." The key bindings are also all over the place. Instead of nested menus or chord presses, every action is its own keybind. Now this normally wouldn't be an issue, but your limited camera control is bound to WASD. Would it have killed them to let us hold control and hit a button for a different action? They must think we have some massive hands if we're going to reach all the way to the P key with our left hand. Now while there are voice commands, they also needed to program the game so that players without microphones still had full control. So they put in a system where you can hold the voice command button, then select the options in the menu tree. Now on the PC, instead of letting us use WASD or arrow keys to navigate the tiny menu, they decided you have to use the mouse cursor. This requires a lot of precision to execute even basic commands. On the console, you would hold the trigger and then use the D-pad to quickly navigate the menu for orders. You could very easily develop muscle memory to issue orders on the fly. So that's what the game is like and how it's played. And now that you know how it all works, I think it's time we talk about how it all fit into the theater of war. The Theater of War was the main game mode. On the Xbox 360, and I'm sure on the PS3 and PC too, about 50% of players were on the JSF. This was probably because most players who owned the game were from the US, but also because anyone with a semi-functioning brain could tell that the US was overpowered. Usually, this just meant that the US players had longer wait times for matches. Now, I can't remember who won more wars, but it definitely was not the European faction. Let's just say that the European faction was caught between a rock and a hard place. The Theater of War mode had no AI teammates, so players could enter into either a 1v1, a 2v2, or a 4v4. The number of units available to each side wouldn't change. It was still 12 units per faction. Each member on a team of 4 would be able to control only 3 of the 12 units. 1v1s were my main jam. That's where you'd find the top players. In a 1v1, you only have your units. Victory, defeat, and the lives of your units were in your hands and your hands alone. There was nothing quite like the pressure of going mano a mano against another player. 2v2s were the least populated match types. Finding a reliable 2v2 partner was always tricky. You gotta find someone that shared your level of aggression and made similar decisions. D-Line 63, we used to run the show at the top of the leaderboards. I miss you, buddy. Most players resorted to the 4v4 mode because you could share the pressure of the battle. Each team member would also get their own pool of command points, leading to far more airstrikes and other mission supports. The community had a shared hatred for airstrikes. Airstrikes were seen as a really cheap beginner strat for eliminating units. Excessive use of airstrikes would outright tilt people. Aftermatch lobbies always had someone shouting about how much of a noob you were for using so many airstrikes. Airstrikes were the noob tube of EndWar. Most matches came down to one important factor: artillery. Destroying the enemy's uplinks and removing their access to airstrikes, electronic warfare, and force recon was quickly identified as the first step to securing a victory. Whole battles revolved around your ability to protect your artillery units while seeking out the enemies. Your priority targets every match were uplinks, artillery, gunships. Deal with those 3 and the rest falls into place. Matches would devolve into a dance of gunships or a command vehicle's UAV trying to get an angle to spot the enemy artillery. If your artillery was spotted, you could bet your ass an enemy airstrike was on the way. More advanced players became able to spot enemy artillery using binoculars, and using the rally point in coordination with the sit rep, we were able to line up our own artillery to force attack the ground that the enemy was on without the need for the hostile sighted indicator. Electronic warfare and airstrikes could also be targeted at any point on the map and would provide vision of the enemy units. Higher level rifleman units have access to a laser target designator ability, allowing your artillery to fire their special ability at any location or target in the rifleman's vision. Here's how it would play out. You would spend 3 command points to call in an electronic warfare to eliminate their shields and give you vision. Then you'd switch to your rifleman's camera, select your artillery, highlight the enemy artillery unit number, then hit the special attack button. And just like that, the enemy artillery would lose half of their HP. Swap out that 3 command point electronic warfare for a 5 command point level 2 airstrike, and you would completely incapacitate the enemy units. Having higher leveled units was really important to improving your chances to win matches. Because of how important they were to everyone's success and enjoyment, the community had a sort of unwritten agreement that you would let your opponent's units evacuate after they were incapacitated. Killing an enemy unit usually meant you'd receive a classic message over Xbox Live.
Hey, you're just mad because I'll be able to do something with my fucking guitar in hands that you'll never be able to achieve in your entire life, kid. So yeah, you're gay.
Matches could start off with unit killing, or they could devolve into unit killing. Maybe your opponent killed one of your units last match, so you're gonna kill everything on the map. Maybe your opponent is beating you and you just wanna get under their skin. Or maybe they just tilted you by calling in too many airstrikes and now it's time to send a message. It became well known that you could save your units from dying if you quickly went to the Xbox dashboard before the unit died. Killing units to get your opponents to quit quickly became part of the pool of strategy options for an easy win. There are so many ways you could kill your enemy's units. You could accidentally kill a unit with an AoE attack that's targeting another unit. You could destroy a building that infantry are garrisoning before they could evacuate it. An enemy unit could just go down on one of your minefields. A gunship could get downed over a building or terrain that isn't safe, preventing evacuation. It was also pretty common to just drop a WMD near a unit that you recently downed or one that had recently lost its shields. Or you could just straight up attack the downed unit. But if you really wanted to send a message, you could attack the evac chopper after it picks up the survivors. You could quickly fire 2 special attacks at a downed unit. Bonus points if you use that rifleman laser designator to fire artillery from across the map. Or you could pull out the noob method and just airstrike the unit while it's down. And we haven't even gotten to the downright evil tactics that were used, like using an electronic warfare on the evac chopper to stun it so you could shoot it out of the sky. Or my favorite, airstriking the evac chopper after it's picked up the survivors. Now that's sending a message. And after that long list, we still have one more, the community's favorite, calling in an electronic warfare on an enemy to remove its shields and then dropping a WMD on it. This one was so popular that people developed a reaction of immediately quitting to the Xbox 360 dashboard the moment they saw the electronic warfare hit and heard the incoming WMD warning. I remember a few times where people actually quit and I wasn't even using the combo to kill a unit. And of course, strategies evolved. So we learned that you could call in the WMD first, then call in the electronic warfare so that the opponent only has milliseconds to react. People gained reputations as unit killers, and people would fully avoid matching up against the unit killer. If they were matched up against one and they didn't want to play against them, they'd usually deploy 3 gunships at the start of the match and immediately evacuate them. Or they would commence with the community favorite strategy, the Gunship Rush. Every RTS has its cheese strat. In EndWar, we had the Gunship Rush. See, the Gunship Rush wasn't necessarily used to get a quick win. No. This was personal. A Gunship Rush had one objective, to kill an enemy unit. You didn't do it because you wanted to win. You did it because you wanted to send a message. Either you'd kill the unit and then quit, or the opponent would quit before the unit could die. Win-win. You always had to be on the lookout for your opponent to Gunship Rush, especially if you were in a rematch. I have a very fond memory of defending against the Gunship Rush in a 2v2 with my boy D-Line. It was a raid on Lacido Army Base, and we were the defenders. These 2 American guys we just beat got rematched against us. I just knew for sure they were gonna Gunship Rush, so we strategized how to defend against it. The plan was simple. We ended up deploying 2 transports, a tank, and a gunship. The American attackers started out in a valley and couldn't see over the army base walls on the hill. So we put our transports behind the large wall and moved our tank out into the open. And just as they crested over the hill and cleared the wall, we hit them with the European tank's Vercator ability, which immediately knocks out the shields of all 4 gunships. Our transports underneath their gunships are unloading their AoE basic attacks, and with our gunship's hot missile special attack hitting all 4 gunships, they were all downed within seconds. 2 of the gunship units were downed while they were flying over the wall, meaning they were immediately dead, and the other 2 were killed almost instantly after they went down. They couldn't quit to the dashboard fast enough. Now that was an epic moment that I still think about to this day. Do you have any special moments or memories of EndWar? Let me know in the comments below. Just about every multiplayer game has some form of boosting. Usually this means players are boosting up their win percentage to get higher up on the leaderboards, but in EndWar, boosting wasn't for wins. Boosting was used to level up your units. Here's how it worked. You would find a buddy on a different faction and both enter into a 1v1 on the same map at the same time with the hope of being matched against each other. At the deployment screen, you'd each tell each other what unit type you wanted to boost up. Say I wanted to boost up a couple of gunships and my friend wanted to boost a couple of his tanks. We would both let our units march straight into each other's landing zone. We would then deploy units for the other to down. In this case, I would deploy transports for his tanks, and he would deploy tanks or artillery for my gunships. To speed up the process, both sides would also deploy a rifleman unit and quickly secure the uplinks around the map and push DEFCON so that units cost only 2 command points to deploy, with the added benefit of also leveling up one of your rifleman units. Boosting wasn't necessarily frowned upon by the community. Pretty much everyone did it at one point or another, and I can admit that I did it as well. Especially after you change your battalion choice, it was nice to ramp up your unit ranks rather than having to start over from square one. It really became a problem when people would also boost their wins with their units. The top player on the Xbox 360 leaderboards was a known booster. There were plenty of really good players that I came to know. Some of them I can remember off the top of my head went by the names of Superman 1, Cincy Eagles fan, and the Red Dragon. The Red Dragon was actually somebody I went up against a lot, and it turns out he has over 100,000 subscribers on his YouTube. He's since retired from YouTube, and now he just tweets about the console wars.
Why is it that we have 38-year-old men going to war with each other over which bootleg PC is better. How is this our reality?
All of us at the top of the leaderboards got to know each other pretty well. We knew each other's tendencies and what strategies to expect. Eventually, it got to a point where I actually made a Smurf account. Yes, I paid for 2 Xbox Live accounts. And funny story, I actually sold iPhone jailbreak services to kids at my high school in order to afford the second account. EndWar didn't have skill-based matchmaking. You just matched up against whoever else was looking for a match. So the Smurf account was just there to keep people from knowing it was me when we matched up against each other. The guy at the top of the leaderboards went by the name of, I can't remember, but it was something along the lines of Kick1 Estrom. I never really considered him to be the best player, even if he was at the top of the leaderboards. The best player was a guy by the name of Kid Soldier. I think if you polled everyone that played back on the Xbox 360, Kid Soldier would easily be voted the best player. If you played back then, you knew his name. If you didn't, you were either lying or you were never good enough for it to matter. Finding out you were matched up against him always meant it was time to sit up in your chair, mute your phone, and wake the f up. So that's Tom Clancy's EndWar. It wasn't the best strategy game. It definitely has its flaws, but it holds a very special place in my heart and in the hearts of many. It really is so nostalgic for so many of us. There's so much that went on that is now lost and can never be experienced again. Some never even got a chance to really experience the main features. Over on Discord, there's a growing community in the EndWar Revival server. We regularly talk about EndWar and even play matches using VPN. Some of the members never even played EndWar during the Theater of War days. It's been so fun to chat with them and share memories and talk about what it was really like back in the day. If you're interested in joining, you can find a link in the description below. At one point, there was a sequel in development for EndWar, but it was canceled after the game failed commercially. They did release a spin-off called EndWar Online in 2015, but it was a browser game because, you know, that's the most obvious thing to do.
Of course!
It's a shame we never got a true sequel, but we know if Ubisoft made a sequel now, it'd be a grindy live service quadruple A experience. Thank God they won't ruin the EndWar name any more than they already have.